Alrighty then, let's activate straight up menace and get this thing going. It's Voch Lombardi. What's crack-a-lacking? We're continuing to rank the prospects here in my top 10 or so rankings. I did 15 with offensive line because I did offensive line as a whole. But we're going to do 10 running backs. And let me just kind of explain myself. So running back, of course, is very dependent on who on what team that you go to, right? And how they use you. So just quick disclaimer, any one of these guys can be better than the other, right? What I'm doing is I'm simply giving you my criteria, how I'm judging it and, what traits I like in running backs, and based on that on that criteria and those traits, what guys come out on top. Okay, I'm ready to shake this thing up, man. Before we get started, though, I do feel like there's about 19 or so running backs that I really like this year. And I think all those guys can be successful in certain scenarios, right? But damn, a lot of them are very similar to each other. And it took me a while to really watch these guys and rewatch them and, rewatch them. But I think I got a pretty good grasp on, who I want to be my number one guy out of my top 10 guys. So my criteria I use, just like with the last video, I had 5 things, right? First of all, I want to take what you're good at, right? What are you good at, and how good are you at doing that one thing? Then what, right? So, if you're, let's just say, for example, I won't say where he's ranked. He's not number one. But let's say Josh Jacobs, right, from Alabama. Like, his thing is, hey, he's a powerful back, right? Like, he wins with power and tough running. Then what? Where does he get his extra points? Oh, okay. He does this well. He does that well. Not so good at this, but he's this, right? So number one off the rip, my baseline is how good are you at the best thing that you do, right? And just being, a fantastic power back can put you over a very balanced running back just based on you doing that so well. Does that make sense? But then there's the then, right? I really like speed, burst, and quickness. You know what I mean? Athleticism in general. The running back position, you can get away with being like a 4-5 guy, but if you're a balanced running back and you're a 4-3 guy, damn, that makes such a difference, right? But on top of speed, burst, and quickness, I like finish. I think that's the main trait in any football position, finish. Whether it be running back, it could be receiver, it could be DBs, pass rushers, linebackers, offensive linemen, they all count on finish. So if you're if you're a running back, finishing runs, finishing blocks, how well do you finish? Tough runners, put your head down and get that extra yard or two. All that starts to add up over the course of a game. I like vision. Are you going in the right damn direction? In the National Football League, a lot of these teams are transitioning more to zone run schemes, right? And that ain't just A-gap design run anymore. It's you read from inside to outside. If backside's there, cut back and go get your yards, right? All this is very much so dependent on can you see it. And I'm not going to bring this up too much because I think my top 10 running backs, I think they can all see pretty well. Some better than others. We'll talk about that and cross that road in a minute. And 5, how do you help me out in the passing game? Can you block? Can you catch? You know what I mean? Like, do I have to take you off the field and put somebody else out there? All this, This is my top 5 criteria for, what I like in my backs and what I think I pretty much got from my top 10 guys. Let me take a sip of my green tea before we get started. Let's run it for the cardio. Let's running back it for the cardio. Hey man, look, don't you can't tell me nothing about Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma. You can't tell me nothing about this guy, man. I love to watch him. He's a joy to watch. He's fun. He's a finisher. I think he has some athleticism to it. If he wasn't injured, right, he'll be like a top 5 running back, I would say, in this class, right? But he's had a few season-ending injuries or whatnot, and that just doesn't bode well for your draft spot or whatever. But I'll tell you what, If anybody can get Rodney, I keep want to call him Rodney Harrison. You know, just sounds similar. Rodney Anderson. If anybody can get Rodney Anderson like in the 4th or the 5th round, by God, you got to steal. The only thing is keeping him healthy. So, you know what I mean? If you just, pray at night and you throw a penny in a wishing well or whatever, or you rub a magic lantern and a genie come out the thing or whatever, you can wish for him to stay healthy, then do that. Wish him healthy, get him in the 5th round, and you get you a damn starting caliber running back in the 5th round or so. Pretty good vision, tough runner. They throwing the ball a little bit. I watched him with Baker Mayfield. Man, he ran all over Georgia, bro. Oh, man, it was disgusting what he did to Georgia, whatever year that was, whatever film that was. But yeah, Rodney Anderson, he's my number 10 guy. And this is not a mistake. This is not a false alarm. Number 9 is Josh Jacobs. He's my shocker, my first shocker for the day, right? I never comply with the draft Illuminati. I don't care who they're pushing. I'm watching film for myself, and then I'm gonna evaluate where guys should go. Now, don't get me wrong. Josh Jacobs is a very talented running back, and I think with his play style, he can go to somebody in the National Football League, and he can be very successful. But you see all these question marks right here? Y'all don't know who behind them, but y'all see all these question marks right here? I think everybody behind these question marks are faster, quicker, can burst better than Josh Jacobs. I think they're more effective in the passing game, and I think they all see better than Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh is really good at the number 1 thing. On my criteria list, let me open it back up. On my criteria list, he's very good at his what are you good at thing, and that's power runner. He's a ridiculously powerful runner. But what else do you give me on the back end of that? A lot of people want to compare him to Marshawn Lynch. Well, Marshawn Lynch is powerful, but Marshawn Lynch can run. And Marshawn Lynch is deceptively quick. I don't think we get that from Josh Jacobs. Now, I think he's going to be cool. And like I said, it depends on where he goes. But, I mean, like, take a look at my next guy compared to him, right? If you gave me Josh Jacobs and told me to run an offense, sure, there are some things I can do with Josh Jacobs. But give me Treyvion Williams, right? And Voch, what can you do with Treyvion Williams offensive-wise? Well, shit, I can line him out in the slide. I can do some gadget stuff with him. He can run between the tackles. He can read zone to the outside. He got quickness. He got burst. Quickness, burst, athleticism in general, catches the ball well. I mean, Josh Jacobs probably caught four passes versus Auburn. I think that's his big catchy game or whatever. But Treyvion catch the ball for real. I think Treyvion could be a bell cow back in this league, 3-down guy. I mean, like, you don't give him 30 carries, 35 carries. I wouldn't say that. But just the combination of traits, I love his vision, the combination of my criteria, these 5 things, I think Treyvion Williams ranks over Josh Jacobs in that way, right? What about my number 7 guy? Hey, man, and he was one of the last guys I watched, Dexter Williams from Notre Dame. Another player that just puts everything together well. Dexter Williams ranks over Treyvion because I think Dexter runs a little harder than Treyvion. Not saying Treyvion runs soft, but I like how Dexter finishes a little better. And he looks like a bigger, heavier back. Combine nerds, can you hit me with the measurements for Dexter and Treyvion Williams? But Notre Dame throwing the ball. I saw Dexter blocking really well. There's another myth going around in the draft community that Josh Jacobs is a fantastic blocker. I mean, he's big, but he's not a fantastic blocker. You know what I mean? He's a willing blocker, but that's because of like coaching at Alabama, I think, because Damien Harris blocks just like him. But every time somebody brings up blocking, they bring up that one highlight of him run blocking. When we're talking about running backs blocking, I want to talk about your passing game blocking, right? But Dexter Williams, he's a guy that not a lot of people are talking about. I think he's really good at his thing. I think his thing is being a very balanced running back. Him just kind of being good at every damn thing. He finishes really well. He has some burst. Not the fastest guy on this list, but he has some burst. Great in the passing game, blocker. I like his vision. He can see. There are some guys that vision better than him, but he has some pretty solid vision patient game about him. That's a little better than Josh Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? I would love to comply to the draft Illuminati just because they say Josh is the only first round running back and they rank him at number 1, but I don't really comply very well. I don't listen to the draft Illuminati. Let me take another sip. And I want to hear from the Alabama fans that's in the chat box or in the comment section right now. Alabama fans, do you think that Josh is a better running back than Damien or vice versa? Because me personally, just me watching film, and I watched a lot of film because the plug hooked me up with the all 22, so I watched all the film. Damien Harris, in my opinion, he does more than Josh Jacobs. He does a lot more. And we're talking about Damien Harris being one of the better guys in this draft prior to when we were talking about Josh. But when we look at Damien runs better. I'm not pro day guy. I'm not combine 40 guy. I don't care about the numbers. When you watch the film, Damien Harris looks to have a lot more scoot than Josh Jacobs, right? So if you look at them being finishers, I think Damien Harris is also a finisher. He may not be like the ridiculous power runner that Josh Jacobs is, but Damien got some power runner in him. Damien puts his damn pads down and he runs people over too. What I like about Damien over Josh as well is I think Damien is probably the most patient runner in this bunch right here. It's probably a tie between him and my number 1 and my number 4 guy who has the most patience and vision or whatnot. But Damien is he doesn't hit the hole unless he sees it. You know what I mean? He doesn't go anywhere unless he sees it first, and that gets him out of a lot of trouble. Now, Josh, who is a tougher runner, like he'll see danger and still run through it, right? At least Damien sees trouble, gets away from it, finds open grass, then runs people over when he gets there, if that makes sense. He's about the same kind of catcher that Jacobs is, but I've seen him catch a little more than Josh Jacobs, and they're about even on the blocking field or whatever. So what puts him over Dexter and Treyvion, I think he finishes a little harder than them. Even though they both run, they're both faster than him. I think he finishes better than them, and I think his vision puts him over them too. If I had to kind of break down why he's better than those two there, just my reasoning here. Myles Sanders, who's another balanced back. All these guys are balanced back. It's a lot of balanced 3-down guys this year. So if you're a team that like needs a running back, it's a lot of guys you can go get this year, and you can wait till like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round to go get them. But Myles Sanders, who's another complete back, catcher, runner, blocker, finisher. I think I rank him over Damien because I think he's just a little more athletic than Damien. You know what I mean? As far as finisher, he can finish as well. Like Myles runs people over as well. But I think his pure athleticism puts him over Damien in that way. But he's a lot more active in the passing game. And he's a solid blocker. He's a very angry blocker. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the best blocking strength behind him. He doesn't line up and just smoke the hell out of people like a Zeke would. But I think he overcompensates for that for being an angry blocker. Like he'll really run into your ass. Like not even great blocking technique, but his super willingness puts him over the edge as well. So I got Myles Sanders from Penn State as my number 5 guy. Where we at? Hey man, Lil Shady McCoy, bro. Lil Shady McCoy is my number 4 guy, man. I really like Devin Singletary, man. I watched film on him, and if you think about what people say about him, because I'm kind of late with running back, so I have heard people say things about Devin Singletary. You would think that he's only a shifty back. You would think that he's only a quickness guy. Even I would, call him Shady McCoy, because I watched him in passing, but I really had to focus on these guys breaking his film down. And if I look at my paper that I kind of rank, rank guys and chicken scratch, you know what I'm saying? Cross you out, move you down. Singletary started as like my sixth guy, but I thought about his traits, because he does catch the ball, and Singletary does finish runs, and Singletary does have that patience. He has the quickness, but he does have that start and stop ability, like that Le'Veon thing. I'm not saying he's Le'Veon, but he does do that stop and go thing. But he does have some Shady McCoy quickness. What I really like is that he can make the first guy miss. I think that's a very underrated tool with ball carriers these days. They make the first guy miss. And man, if you just watch Devin Singletary film in a row, not even highlights, man, just watch him in a row, rarely does the first guy bring him down. You know what I mean? Now there are plenty times where the Florida Atlantic offensive line let him down a little bit. Like they let Nas down for real. But Devin Singletary was able to make a guy miss and patient his way into getting positive yards. He's got some big play to him, and he's just a joy. Plus, that would be his number one trait, his do your thing trait, his what are you good at trait. Being shifty and making the first guy miss, he's really good at that. And when they threw the ball to him, he caught it. They didn't throw it to him a gang, but when they threw it to him, it didn't have too many drops. So Devin Singletary is my number 4 guy, bro. And let me take a sip of my tea when I do this. Why the hell is nobody talking about Raquel Armstead from Temple? Somebody pronunciate check me on that. Pronounce phonetically. Somebody put the phonetic spelling of Raquel Armstead. We're just gonna call him Raquel. That's a mouthful. Armstead is what we're gonna call him. Nobody's talking about Armstead this year from Temple. Nobody's talking about him, and he was at the bottom of my watch running back list. But man, when I watched him, I kept adding more games because I wanted to see more of him. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't, he just out here fluking or whatever. But man, good size, good athleticism, freaking finisher, catching the ball, mean ass blocker. Like, he jumps off the film. If you watch Armstead, he's jumping off the damn film. And I'm like, man, why are we not talking about this guy? I'm probably gonna do a film session on him, and I don't typically do too many film sessions on running backs or whatever. But I need to put him out there. I think I need to run this campaign, man. I'm not gonna keep calling this man Armstead. I need to do a video on Arms. He's one of my sons. I'm labeling him as one of my sons, man. He's so damn fantastic, and I can probably back it up a little bit more with a proper film session for him. But athleticism, finish, his bursting quickness, making guys miss, catching the ball, blocker, his vision. He got a little bit of patience to him, but he mostly runs angry. And I like a quick, angry, physical runner, man. We're not talking about Armstead enough, man. We need to watch a little bit more of him, man, before I get pissed off in here. Durrell Henderson from Memphis. And Memphis ran the ball a whole bunch, so we got a pretty good, serving size of what the hell he is. Him, Tony Pollard, and the other guy, I don't know, Phil or something, the other guy that's coming back. Leonard Fournette just got arrested. Okay. So Jacksonville Jaguars fans, if you're looking into running backs, I mean, hey, come and get you one of these guys. But Durrell Henderson, what I really liked about him, and he's a bit on the smaller side, but I don't really care. Like, you can be a 5'7" running back and make it in the league. But he's a thicker, small running back. He's short, but he's not little bitty. You know what I mean? So as far as him being a finisher, sure, he's a big play dude, man. I've seen him take so many nothing plays and turn it into something. And I know a lot of people want to talk about the competition. You know, what's he? You know, who's he doing it against? Da da da. Boom boom boom. He's playing for Memphis. I mean, that's cool, man. But you got to trust your evaluation. You got to trust the relationship with the running back and the offensive line. Okay, and then gauge the athleticism once they're in open space. And when they're in open space, he can fly. And I think he had a solid combine. Combine nerds helped me out. I think he can fly once he's in open space. He can catch the ball. They line him up at receiver a bunch. They'll bring in one of their other two running backs to line him up at receiver. Pretty good blocker, pretty willing blocker, but this comes down to what he's good at. He's really good at it, and that's being a big play guy. Plus, he can give you dirty runs, and we know he's a bell cow type guy. I think he got like 300 carries this year from Memphis, just pounding the ball at him or whatever. So, hey man, I like Durrell Henderson, man. I like him more than Josh Jacobs. And somebody on Twitter said I was bugging, but fuck you. Numero uno, man. We got David Montgomery from Iowa State. Complete back. Very much so complete back. And I think what put him over the edge over everybody else was how good he was as a complete back. You know what I mean? How he did everything, but he did it a little bit better than them. You know what I mean? My last 8 guys, let me look at my list. Everybody on this list is a finisher. You know, like they all finish runs. But I think he finishes his runs better than the last 4 guys, the last 4 or 5 guys. There's like one guy on this list, and that's Josh, that I think he doesn't finish better than. But I think he finishes a little better than those, than the last 5 guys that I named. Pass catcher, he's up there. Athleticism, he got it. He's not the most athletic on this list, but when you take his athleticism compared to everybody else, then bring what else he brings to the table or whatnot, he's good to go. I actually got a David Montgomery film session. I don't know in which order I'm going to release it. Just looking at my paper here. So I'm dropping David Montgomery film after the 7:00 running back live joint tonight. So stay tuned for that. But David Montgomery, man, lines up at receiver, catches the ball. Like he lines up at X and slot, and then he lines up at running back and he catches the ball out the backfield. You know what I mean? Very much so a bell cow back can get 35 carries. He really put Iowa State on his back, man, because the offensive line let Nas down a bunch. But man, do I like David Montgomery, man. He just does everything well. And I think I sort of quasi compared him to David Johnson. I don't do player comparisons. I think player comparisons are trash. But if you look at David Johnson, the prospect, he was just a guy that did everything well. Then he kind of transitioned into a league guy that kind of stepped it up one more notch. I think David Montgomery is a guy that does everything well, but he's one notch better than what David Johnson was in college. Not that I'm comparing the two. I don't do player comparisons, and not that I'm comparing him to a pro running back that's been in the Pro Bowls and number 1 picks in fantasy football drafts. But I think he just does everything well, better than the last 5 guys, but he does it in a very balanced way. Boy, oh boy, that was a mouthful. But let me just make sure I covered all my bases here. That was a mouthful, man, but I had to get this out because I really binge watch running backs, and I think I really got a good feel for them because I watched them, then I got away from them. Then I watched them in passing, I got away from them. I watched a few guys, but this time I really binged and focused on the details that I was looking for this time around, and I was pretty satisfied with my results. So this is my top 10. Y'all like this video? Tune into my live stream that I got going on later on. It's gonna be at 7 Central Time, 8 Eastern. Tune in for that. And I got the David Montgomery film session dropping right after that. So y'all stay tuned. Hey, like the video, comment, subscribe. I want to know how much y'all disagree with me, because I know my top 5 is nothing like a lot of the top 5s that come from the pundits, but F them. what was I about to say? Patreon. Don't forget about the Patreon, man. It's more important than food and water. Follow me on Twitter, VOCHLOMBARD. Y'all support the merch. I really appreciate that. Join the Discord. If you're in the Patreon and you're into Discord, then there's a Patreon only Discord. That link is floating around my Patreon wall somewhere. Y'all hold it down for the Doski Woski. Come cuss me out. Peace, y'all. Salute.